Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious, and today we are going to be showcasing the Hyogo Championships in 2024 of OP08. Very excited to get into this one. The last championship series that we saw on this channel, check that out if you haven't. We saw a new winner emerge, and through this weekend as well, although there's not really streamed games of it, I do know that this weekend in Asian majors, Lucci ended up winning one this weekend, and so did Jewelry Bonnie. So it's going to be exciting to see if the continued success of non-red purple law decks continue to emerge now that the format has somewhat been identified and decks have been really kind of built together. Seeing how other decks react and build around it is going to be so exciting, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today. As always, we're going to start out this video looking at the meta spread, the top 16 decks in the Hyogo Championships, looking to be another dominant one by Red Purple Law. Red Purple Law with another double-digit showing, one of those decks that just dominate the meta, and if you want to do well and you dedicate the time, you can have really good placings for Law. That's just how dominant of a deck it is with its new cards that it's garnered in OP08, but it's not alone in terms of multiple decks inside the top 16. Lucci and Anel all making an appearance of 3 each, rounding out the top 16 spots. Anel, kind of its strongest showcase, I feel like, so far in the OP08 meta in terms of the events that we've covered on this channel. Lucci we've seen done well recently, but it's going to take a lot to be able to take care of these red purple laws. And in this video, this first match that we're going to be watching here, I'm a little bit behind. I was exporting another video. Now in this match, you might have seen from the title, thumbnail, and even on screen right here, we're going to be watching Lucci versus red purple law. I'm super excited to get into this one. We saw that matchup really go down in the last tournament, but we're going to see it again. We're going to see if these decks are built a little bit differently, what adjustments have been made after seeing that championship last weekend, and really going to showcase the decks in their earnest. Now, heading into this, got lists pulled up for both of them. Not the exact list because, well, this tournament's still going on as we speak right now, so the winner has yet to be decided. Red Purple Law, looking around in here, we know pretty much what a Red Purple Law deck looks like in OP08. It is a deck that has not really changed overall, I would say, in this format, especially since the introduction of Black Maria and Charlotte Pudding. So looking at the decks, we're going to look at the Lucci's hand first. You got a Spandam in there to be able to search, and also a Spandine, as well as some 2K counters in the Suru and a Gecko Moria. The Gecko, a nice card to have, especially as you start building up your trash through your leader effect, through the Spandam. Plenty of different options to potentially be able to bring back up and revive from the trash and bring onto the field. Remember that Lucci leader effect, a new key leader in OP07 for us Westerners. When attacking, trash 2 cards from the top of your deck and give your opponent -1 cost on one of their characters. Going to be impactful against this Red Purple Law. The Red Purple Law, 3 Otamas. Look at all of those 2Ks. All 5 cards drawn were 2Ks. Got that Sanji and Penguin there, which is going to be nice when you use that leader effect to be able to build back up your Dawn. And then Sanji in there as well. The thing that we've seen in previous Red Purple Law games that could be a huge factor, Red Purple Law has really struggled when there's no Reijus in hand, right? No Reijus, no Queens to be able to draw cards. Absolutely no draw in this Red Purple Law player's hand. So, with almost identical covered sleeves and Lucci going first, I would almost venture to say that Lucci might actually have an advantage in this game before they even play a card. And so going first, this Lucci going to probably be playing this Spandam right here. I would think, and that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Going to trash the top 3 cards of their deck, grabbing a CP type card. Going to be that Tempest Kick, a very good card trashing a Brook and a Gecko. The Brook going in trash could be nice. We've seen some Rob Lucci lists play Rebecca, which can get that Brook back. I remember it being very impactful in the last tournament, and so the red purple law just passing right away, not doing too much, and on the 3 Dawn turn just drawing for that Lucci. Going to be finding a 4-drop Rob Lucci, which will be nice in the future, not necessarily right now, but I don't know if you necessarily have a better play than swinging 5 right here and maybe trying to do something like the Tempest Kick to draw, or potentially playing the Spandime. So going to be swinging that 5 and trashing a Jack and a 0 cost event. Going to be taking a life right there after drawing the Sachi Penguin, a Charlotte Pudding for turn that last turn, and getting a Trafalgar Law off life. Going to be attaching the 3 though is going to be on the Spandam, so getting another little poke in because it's probably going to be bottom decked in the next turn, and just going to pass. You got your value off the Spandam to grab a Tempest Kick, gotta swing in. And now with the 4 Dawn turn, after countering out with one of the Otama, is going to top deck a 5 cost Kid. 5 cost Kid is going to be nice, my apologies. And going to attach one to the Law, swing away at life. Going to try to force a 2K out of hand. You've got a couple 2Ks. I don't mind pitching a Suru right now. I don't think that's a bad idea. You don't really want to take life because you might be afraid of the 4-drop Law. But with the rest of the 3 Dawn, going to be playing that Pudding, using Leader Effect to bottom deck the Spandam, and playing down what I presume is the Sachi Penguin. We've seen this play time and time again with red purple Laws in OP08 to be able to cheat out one Bonnie and have the exact same Dawn as where they did before on their 4 Dawn turn, playing the Pudding, using Leader Effect, and playing down Sachi and Penguin off Leader Effect gets them right back to where they started. So top decking that Brook right now, Brook could be nice, especially if you build up your trash a little bit more, especially because red purple Law has so many of these 4 costs, right, cards that can be minus pretty easily down to 1. That Brook gets a lot of value in certain stages of the game. So after top decking it, really going to be deciding where they want to go. I think they have maybe 5 or 6 cards in trash at this point. I can't remember off the top of my head. I once again went through another start of the championships not taking notes on the trash. Going to be 5 in trash. I'm going to try to remember that. So Tempest Kick does not activate with the minus effect, but is going to be using that Rob Lucci Leader Effect on swinging 5. Going to be minusing what looks like to be maybe the Pudding on there, and I think it is going to be that Pudding, putting it at a 2 cost at this point. No Ennis Lobby Stage right now, a card that we know is so impactful in these Rob Lucci decks, as they now have 7 in the trash. Still have to decide what they want to do on this 5K swing. Really tough situation right now for this red purple Law, because you don't really have a ton of cards in hand, you don't have a ton of draw, but you don't want to be taking too many of these swings, especially these 5K swings. So really thinking about the amount of stuff that they want to do. The Trafalgar Law, as much as I hate to say it, maybe something that they pitch in here, but I think they might be aiming at taking a life, originally motioning over to their life, and they are going to be taking it. 2 life left for this red purple Law player. Going to be a Gordon, which is very nice. You love to see that. And with the Suru playing down that 2K, is going to be playing that Brook to get that Pudding and KO it. No more Dawn revamping back to you. Anytime you use the Leader Effect, as of right now, it's going to cost you, even though a Kid is probably going to hit the field here shortly. You love seeing the Brook down now. That means that Brook won't be played later unless a Rebecca comes on the field. And so with 6 Dawn at this point, going to be looking around in their hand, could get rid of this Brook through a Gordon, could also get rid of it through a Trafalgar Law. We see that Trafalgar Law promo there that just came out in the West, been around in the East for a while. Could play that to get that Brook down to under 3,000 power, and then bottom deck that card, get rid of that annoying guy right there. while also putting a body on the field. But first, going to be swinging that Sachi Penguin for 5 at lead. 1 Dawn up, you're not really expecting anything with the 1 Dawn in terms of counter events, and just going to be taking that life right there. Going to be a Jack, it looks like. So Jack could be very nice. We know that Jack, even though it has that +4, it does have that activate main that kills 3 or less characters after you do a little bit of cycling as well. So could be a card that we see come in later, especially as a 8,000 power body. But the red purple law playing the Eustace Captain Kidd and Otama to get that Brook under, do the Dawn minusing effect on the leader to bottom deck that Brook, as I was mentioning earlier, and going to be playing a Sanji. They are 2 or less Dawn behind as they're playing down that Sanji, and so that Sanji becomes a 3 cost in hand available to play. And with the 1 Dawn that comes back as active from the Eustace Captain Kidd, the Trafalgar Law is going to go ahead and swing 6 at life. Going to be taking that one, no trigger right there at this point. Going to be a Rebecca. Rebecca really nice. You have another Brook in the trash that's able to be gotten through the Rebecca, and after drawing a Tempest Kick as well, could be interesting to see how they want to play this out, because remember, with the Rebecca, you do grab something out of your trash, so you do have to be very careful overall to be conscious when you use the Tempest Kick, as well as your other plays that you can make. We could see both Tempest plays or both Tempest Kicks go off with that 2 Dawn. That could be something that we see, especially because that would be 2 cards in the trash, right? As soon as you play that Tempest Kick, it's considered a trashed card. So with 1 Dawn, though, first going to be swinging 6 and going to be trashing a Tempest Kick and a Brook right there. Going to be 8 cards in general. No, 9 cards, I believe, right now. So any Tempest Kick can do a -3. So first, going to be doing the -1 onto the Kidd, going to be putting it at a 4 cost. And remember that the Sanji is a 6 cost. I did say that it was a 3 earlier from hand, but as soon as it comes down on the field, it is back to a 6 cost in terms of Rob Lucci. So going to be curious how they go about this. I imagine that they're going to be playing the Rob Lucci. They might be trying to aim and KO both the Kidd and the Sanji, which would be interesting. It might be a little tough to do that, though, because you don't have the Ennis lobby stage. So swinging this 6 at the Sachi Penguin, going to be a 2K counter to get out of that. And so with the rest of the Dawn right here, going to be resting 1 for that Tempest Kick. Again, drawing 1. Now that you have 10 in the trash, going to be doing a minus now for one of these characters. Going to be minusing what looks like the Kidd. So bringing that Kidd down to 1 overall. If the swing from the Rob Lucci leader did that minus to the Kidd as well. And using the other Tempest Kick, again, going to be double checking, and I think going for the Sachi Penguin. That would put them both at 1, the Eustace Captain Kidd and the Sachi Penguin. So this Rob Lucci would be able to take out 2 bodies. Aren't able to get the Sanji as well as the Eustace Captain Kidd, but I don't think you can complain because you do get rid of 2 bodies with this. So putting back a Gecko in here, we could see Ice Age come back. Usually a lot of these events end up going through back into the deck because they're not usually cards that you can ever get off of the your different characters and things like that. So going to put Tempest Kick, Gecko, and Jack back at the bottom of the deck. Going to take out, like I mentioned, the Sachi Penguin and Eustace Captain Kidd. I'm just going to be passing off the turn to the red purple law. Again, focusing on that revamping Dawn. Going to be at 6 Dawn now at this point. After top decking a Kid Killer last turn, going to be top decking a Raise Max. So not a lot of counter at all, especially with these power minusing cards in the Raise Max and the Gordon. So we could see one of those come down to get rid of the Rob Lucci. Could still be strong at this point with bottom decking that, you do get a little bit of board control while also keeping your Sanji. You'd be able to play down a couple different characters, right? One Don for that. You could use the rest to swing with another character. You could honestly like do one for the raise max, bottom deck the Rob Lucci, but before you bottom deck, you could attach the 5 and swing with Otama. Just try to go a little bit wider to be able to play dudes down. The Kid Killer is not necessarily something that you have to play right away, but is something that you could play off of, like the leader effect. You're only down to 4 cards in hand with no potential draw, so I feel like you want to save the Trafalgar Law for a kind of bigger body that may come down in this next turn, because the Rob Lucci is going to be at, I believe, 9 Dawn in general. So the Gecko could come down, a Jack could come down at this point, you know, Stussy even could come down if they're playing a Stussy. Different options that this Rob Lucci has, so having more power minuses could be beneficial in the future turn. So going to start out by swinging 5 right here, just going to be doing a little bit of poke. And this 5 looks like it's going to be countered out by the Rebecca. So the Rebecca could be coming off of this Gecko. We've seen this before, where the Gecko is played and brings back a Rebecca as its 4 cost or less character of choice. And so going to be swinging the Sanji, going to be swinging 6, saying, you know what, I'm going to have to really put the pressure on. Rob Lucci doesn't play any rush characters, so I might as well get my value off of this Sanji now, and is going to be getting a life right there. It's going to be a Jack, a lot of non-counter as well for this Rob Lucci player. They have a little bit more counter though with the Spandine, the Borsellino, and the Spandam, but going to be thinking about what they want to do, and they are going to be swinging the 5 with the Otama. The Otama is going to be doing some poke. I knew it was a good idea right there. And so looking around at their trash, saying, oh my gosh, don't think I can be giving up another poke damage right here. Going to be this Borsellino that they counter out of. Borsellino, not necessarily a great card against red purple laws, simply because it's so easy to be bottom deck. So with this last on, going to be using that raise max to power minus the Rob Lucci to 3,000, and then use leader effect, put 3 Dawn back, and put down probably the Kid Killer at this point, but going for the Law. So the Law going to be the choice that is taken with this. I don't hate this choice, even though it wasn't like my original thought of what I would have wanted in here. Your Kid Killer is usually like a finisher card in a sense. You know, when your opponent has pitched out so much of their hand, you just go, surprise, oh my gosh, it's Kid Killer. But the Rob Lucci on this turn, grabbing that 0 cost event, what I consider to be the MVP of last weekend's tournament, is making a reappearance in this one through this top 16 match. This 0 cost event right here going to be very good against the Kid Killer 6 King gun pistol, I think it's called. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. I'm sorry, bad casting, but going to be looking around right here, going to be swinging 6 right now, going to be swinging it at the Sanji, so no blockers and also no counter in hand. Going to be doing that minusing cost to the Trafalgar Law. Going to be swinging that 6 at the Sanji. Going to have to take this KO right here because you physically can't do anything else on that one. And this is it 8 right now off of the Gecko that's going to be played. 8 is going to come down with the Gecko. Could see Rebecca come down and played. Rebecca is going to bring back a Suru to minus that Law to bring it to 1 overall, and then the Rebecca is going to get that Brook, put that Brook in hand, and then through the Rebecca effect, play down that Brook, putting the Law to a 0. And I wonder if they're going to swing Suru at Otama. You would be able to battle this Otama right here because the Suru is a 0 power and the Otama is a 0 power. You can swing with one of these Surus, and so I think maybe that's what he's trying to clarify at this point. So swinging that Suru at the Otama, going to be taking that knockout. That is the correct decision. Your Otama is not really doing anything else anyways, and a really strong board at this point for the Rob Lucci. So top decking another Raise Max. The Raise Max not going to help you. Only 5 Dawn for this Red Purple Law. It looks like we're going to potentially be seeing this Rob Lucci advance, because as the Red Purple Law, you can advance into a game, like you can hit lethal in this turn. So you have to bottom deck the Rebecca, right, or else there's going to be a free block that is definitely coming down. You got to try to get rid of the Brook, and then also either KOing one of the Surus, or potentially going to have to try to hit life, right? Give them another card, which could be a card that could help them win the game. So it's a tough balance at this point, and not a good position overall if you're the Red Purple Law, the Rob Lucci. A great job at balancing, trying to get rid of different characters and control the board, something that Black really excels in overall as a color. And especially in this matchup, I would assume that, especially after watching last weekend's tournament and getting a couple of the results that happened this weekend, that the Rob Lucci probably doesn't have that bad of a matchup to the Red Purple Law, because especially if the Red Purple Law has any missteps, right? No Black Marias we've seen this game, no Reijus we've seen this game, no Queens we've seen this game, no draw or that severe power of the Black Maria, right? The Red Purple Law has continuously folded in these matches. So going to be attaching 2 and swinging 7 right here. Looks like it's going to be at lead. Going to be a Rebecca block. Pretty easy block in general, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm hiccuping. Pretty easy block in general, in my opinion. Going to be playing the Raise Max and bottom decking the Raise Max to lower the power on the Brook. Going to be putting that Brook now to 1000 power overall. Going to be using the 3 Dawn, bottom decking the Brook, and playing the Kid Killer. The Kid Killer is going to come down and probably attaching at least one of the Dawn on here. Going to be swinging 8,000 power. Remember that with the Kid Killer, because the Rob Lucci is at 2 or less life, it's going to get a 2k power boost when swinging. So 2k power boost plus the 1 Dawn is going to be 8,000 power on this. And so you kind of have to make a decision right here with the 6 King pistol. Do you want to use that, get rid of a Jack, and then another one of your counter cards? I mean, they only have 1 card in hand. Are you that afraid at this point? And so that is what they're going to be doing right now. The choice that they are going to use is the Span Dime. I think the Span Dime is fine to get rid of as well on there to go to 9,000 power. I'm going to preemptively play the Gordon, so no cards in hand at all now at 10 Dawn. What I would do, honestly, is I would maybe think about swinging 5 with the Suru. It seems crazy, but that might not be the worst idea. But first, going to be starting out with the Rob Lucci. Going to be using that leader effect. There's the Ennis Lobby right there, finally. And going to be doing that minusing to the Kid Killer. Going to be taking that life. A Sanji 2k blocker and attaching... How much Dawn was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there was like 7 right there, and 3 to the Gecko for a 12. And it's going to be that Rob Lucci, as I was mentioning before, taking the win. An exciting one. Really a dominant performance. And again, like I said continuously in the last couple of videos showcasing these OP08 tournaments, Red Purple Law folds when they don't have the Black Maria or the Reiju, 2 of the strongest cards in my opinion in the deck that really propel Red Purple Law to the status that it is, where people, you know, want it banned, want Black Maria restricted, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into the details or what my opinion is on that, but we're starting to see a lot more of Rob Lucci check the opponents. So hopefully maybe we'll see in the top 8 what the meta distribution is for the top 8, how many Rob Lucci's advance, how many Enel's advance, and how many red purple laws advance. But before we go, let's look at some sample deck lists of these two. So this is going to be the sample of red purple law that I bring up in here. This one a little bit more interesting than what we've seen in some of the past videos that we've done, especially with the inclusion of Beppo. Can't confirm that Beppo was in this deck, but I think it's an interesting card to consider when you're talking about building red purple law in OP08. You've got that skeleton like we've talked about. Didn't get to see Black Maria's dominance in this game, but we did see a little bit of the Charlotte Pudding and how good it was, especially in combination with the Sachi and Penguin, right? I just realized that this list is not playing any Eustace Captain Kids at all. I think that is that a mistake? I don't know. Maybe just trying to favor like having more options for the like being able to use off of leader effect, right? Because your Eustace Captain Kid cannot be used on leader effect. But if you're looking at different options in terms of what you could cut for the Eustace Captain Kids, you could switch the Beppos and then maybe one of these Trafalgar laws with a Eustace Captain Kid. I think that's usually what I primarily see, or maybe the Otama. The toy promo laws have been so good as of late, I feel like, in the OP08 format. And so I mentioned earlier that Rob Lucci won a major, winning the Malaysia finals over there in the OP08 format, the 1v1 Malaysia finals. So interesting list. We're going to be looking at that list specifically. No idea if the one that we saw in the video is the same in general. Wasn't necessarily that long of a game either, I feel like, but this list pretty typical from what we've seen, especially in terms of the events that we've seen in the OP08 format. Tempest Kick, one of the best events in the deck. Ennis Lobby, a really good one as well. You've got your big bodies in Gecko and Jack right there, and a couple different options in terms of your, CP engine with Kaku, a couple Kakus, couple Khalifas as well, one of your 2Ks in the list, your Spandam, your Spandine being a 4 in this list is a little surprising to me, because I feel like a lot of times we see Spandine at like 3 at the most. So 4 is pretty interesting. The Rob Lucci, right, the star of OP05, as I like to say, one of the cards that kind of stole the show during the Sakazuki, era. And then Rebecca in here, as well as one Sabo. I think Sabo, just a really nice tech card for the mirror in general. You definitely like to see that, and especially for the mirror. Borsellino, one of the best cards in the deck, I think, for Rob Lucci, because if it's not red purple law, Borsellino is so good in my opinion. So that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you in the next video as we go into top 8.